A thunderous punch cracked through the arena, sending the fighter crashing onto the mat. Gasps rippled through the crowd as the referee lunged forward, checking for any sign of movement. But the victor was already celebrating, arms raised high, a smug grin plastered across his face. He strutted past the cameras, leaned over his fallen opponent and hurled insults, his voice loud and unapologetic. Some fans erupted in cheers, thrilled by the spectacle. Others exchanged uneasy glances. Not far from the cage, in the front row, Jason Statham sat in silence, his expression unreadable, his posture relaxed, no clapping, no reaction. Just a pair of sharp, steady eyes locked onto the fighter. The cocky champion spotted him. Still catching his breath, he grabbed the mic, wiped the sweat from his brow and pointed straight at Statham. "You think you're tough in your movies?" he sneered. "Step in here. Let's see if you're real." A hush swept over the arena. Then a wave of chants. Some fans roared in support. Others sat frozen, waiting. For a long moment, Jason didn't move. Then, calm as ever, he stood. His gaze remained fixed, his shoulders relaxed. No words, just a single deliberate step toward the cage. Silence. Everyone knew. Everything was about to change. The stadium pulsed with raw energy, every seat filled, every voice blending into a deafening roar. Floodlights glared down on the polished cage, cameras flashing like lightning as fans leaned forward, anticipation thick in the air. The night felt electric, charged with the promise of something unforgettable. Amidst the chaos, Jason Statham remained composed, seated ringside in the VIP section. Dressed in a dark jacket over an open-collared shirt, he exuded effortless cool, no entourage, no showboating, and yet eyes naturally gravitated toward him. One hand rested loosely on his knee, the other at his side. No grin, no applause, just focus. But inside the cage, all eyes were on one man, the undefeated young fighter, a rising star, not just known for his skills but for how he won. Arrogant, flashy, ruthless. He thrived on spectacle, feeding off the crowd's reactions. Love him or hate him, he demanded attention. His opponent, a seasoned veteran, stood across the cage. A fighter respected for his discipline, his quiet confidence. No theatrics, just skill. None of that mattered tonight. The moment the bell rang, the young fighter attacked, fast, aggressive, relentless. He controlled the pace with a point to prove, his strikes landing with precision, giving his opponent no space to breathe. It ended brutally, a sharp combination. A clean shot to the jaw, the veteran collapsed. The impact echoed across the arena. The referee dove in, signaling the fight was over. Medics rushed to the fallen fighter. The crowd erupted. Some fans screamed in excitement, exhilarated by the show. Others sat stiffly, unsettled by the sheer ruthlessness of it. But the winner didn't care. He paraded around the cage, arms raised high, flexing for the cameras. Sweat dripped from his face as he mocked his opponent openly. No humility, no restraint. And then, in the midst of the chaos, his eyes found Jason Statham, still, unshaken, watching. The fighter's smirk widened. Gripping the mic, he wiped his face and called him out. And in that moment, the entire arena held its breath. The fighter paced the cage like a showman, feeding off the energy of the roaring crowd. He stopped, turned toward the front row, and smirked. "Hey, Statham!" His voice cut through the stadium like a blade. "I see you sitting there, all quiet. You think you're tough in those movies, huh? Why don't you step in here and show us if it's real?" A collective gasp spread like wildfire. The stadium shifted. Some fans laughed, others whispered, nudging their friends. And then, the chant began. "Jason! Jason! Jason!" It rippled through the crowd, voices swelling, some filled with excitement, others waiting in hushed anticipation. Jason Statham didn't flinch. He remained motionless, his gaze locked onto the fighter inside the cage. No smile. No reaction. Just that sharp, unreadable calm. Inside the cage, the young fighter bounced on his feet, his smirk widening, feeding off the moment. Then Jason moved. Slow, controlled, effortless. He stood, adjusting his jacket with deliberate ease. The stadium seemed to freeze. The chants quieted. Phones lifted. Every camera swung toward him, one step forward. No words, no bravado. Just a presence so heavy, so undeniable, that everyone in the arena felt it. The fight wasn't over. It was just beginning. The bell rang, a sharp slicing sound cutting through the roar of the crowd. The young fighter exploded forward, fast and aggressive. His fists fired like pistons, each jab crisp, calculated, not wild, not reckless, but precise. Across the cage, his opponent, a battle-hardened veteran, moved to counter. He was known for his discipline, his stamina. He kept his guard high, circling carefully, measuring the distance. He'd faced cocky young fighters before, but tonight felt different. The kid wasn't just here to win. He was here to humiliate. Diao. Crowd roared as the younger man pressed in, dancing on his feet, weaving left, right, snapping quick jabs. Each strike had intent, forcing the veteran back step by step. Midway through the first round, the young fighter smiled between punches. "You done already, old man?" he sneered. The veteran struck back with a sharp counter, nearly caught him. But the kid ducked, effortless, smirk widening. Too slow. The crowd caught it. The tension thickened. Some fans cheered. Others laughed nervously, unsure whether to admire his confidence or hate his arrogance. The veteran adjusted, trying to slow the pace, regain control. He blocked, dodged, waited for an opening, but the kid didn't give him one. A feint to the left, a snap kick to the ribs. Then he closed the distance, fast, a blur of fists, hooks to the body, a jab to the nose. He leaned in, voice low, a final taunt just for his opponent. "This ain't a movie. You're in my world." A brutal right hook cut across the veteran's jaw. He stumbled. Another punch. His legs buckled. The referee stepped in. It was over. But the young fighter was already turning away, arms raised, the crowd on its feet. Medics rushed in, checking the fallen veteran. He lay still, blinking under the bright lights, disoriented. Officials gathered around, calling for space. Some fans clapped wildly. Others sat in uneasy silence. Inside the cage, the victor didn't pause. He strutted across the mat head high, flexing for the cameras. Leaping onto the cage wall, he pumped his fists, grinning as he looked out over the screaming fans. "Who's next?" he shouted, his voice booming. Some cheered. Others murmured, impressed by his skill, but unsettled by his ruthlessness. And at ringside, heads turned, realizing who had remained silent, unmoved. Jason Statham. The cameras panned to the VIP section. He sat there, still, sharp, no smile. No applause, just steady focus, and the young fighter saw him. Even in the midst of celebration, the adrenaline coursing through his veins, he noticed. That face, that unwavering calm. It fueled him. Grabbing the microphone from the announcer, he jumped down from the cage and called him out. Breathing heavy, the fighter paced the cage slowly, deliberately. He turned, eyes scanning the roaring crowd, and raised his voice. "You see that?" His words rode the energy of the arena. "That's what real fighters look like." Cheers erupted, scattered, at first, then building. But he wasn't done. He pointed straight at Jason Statham. The smirk returned. "Hey, Statham, you've been sitting there all quiet all night." He cocked his head. "You think you're tough in your movies, huh?" Gasps rippled through the audience. Cameras swung toward Jason. Inside the cage, the fighter prowled like a showman, throwing loose punches into the air, feeding off the attention. "Cameras are one thing," he continued, voice dripping with challenge. He stomped the mat beneath his feet. "But in here, this is real." Some fans laughed. Others exchanged glances, unsure where this was going. But pockets of the crowd shifted. A few near the front stood, chanting, "Jason! Jason!" The chant spread, the energy shifting. Phones lifted. The stadium buzzed with anticipation. The fighter laughed, pacing, soaking in the moment. Then he locked eyes with Statham again. "Tell you what," his voice sharpened. "You're sitting front row. Why don't you step in here? Let's see if you've got more than a stunt double backing you up." Another wave of gasps. Some fans cheered wildly, others stared, caught between shock and excitement. And still, Jason didn't react. He sat exactly as he had all night. Posture. Loose, eyes locked on the fighter. No grin, no anger. Just that quiet, unreadable calm. The fighter bounced on his feet, arms outstretched, egging the crowd on. "Come on, Statham," he taunted, voice rising. "One round. Let's see what you've really got." More cameras turned toward Jason. Murmurs spread. People leaned forward, breath held, waiting. And yet, Jason didn't move. The energy of the arena rolled like a wave, but right at ringside, everything felt still. Long seconds passed, then without a word, Jason stood. It wasn't rushed. It wasn't showy. It was deliberate, precise. Every movement controlled. He slid off his jacket, smooth and effortless, handing it to someone nearby. His eyes never left the cage. The cameras caught it instantly. Flashes burst. People leaned forward, murmurs turning into something electric. Inside the cage, the young fighter saw it too, and he grinned wide. Grabbing the mic, he paced near the ropes. "Oh ho, he's actually standing now." He pointed, laughing. "Look at that, folks. Statham's coming down to play." He threw his arms out dramatically. "About time. Thought you might. Stay sitting there, hiding behind those sunglasses." The crowd laughed, uneasy, unsure if the fighter was serious or just hyping the moment. Jason walked forward, unhurried, unbothered, like a man stepping into a room he already owned. Every step seemed to pull the air from the stadium. The chants began swelling again. "Jason, Jason!" The fighter turned to the crowd, smirking. "Come on, people, cheer him on. Give your action hero some support." He laughed, bouncing lightly on his feet. "He's gonna need it." He tossed the mic aside. Security at the cage stepped, back without hesitation. The gate swung open. Jason stepped inside. No flash, no announcement, just pure, effortless presence. He adjusted his stance, body loose but grounded, gaze locked solely on the fighter. Cameras flashed, commentators' voices fading beneath the roar of the crowd. Inside the cage, the young fighter circled lazily, grin still wide. "What's the plan, Jason?" His voice mocked, but there was an edge of something else now, something sharper. Throw some movie punches, maybe a spinning kick for the cameras? Jason said nothing. He stepped forward, closer, closer. The space between them vanished, just inches apart now, and the arena fell silent, that breathless kind of silence before the storm. Something shifted. Up close, the energy in the cage turned electric. The fighter, still grinning, bounced lightly on his heels, trying to stay loose. Trying to shake Jason, he threw out one last jab. Words, not fists. Better hope the director's watching. Jason didn't react. No smirk, no shift. Just locked eyes and steady breath. The crowd leaned in, phones raised, no one daring to look away. Around the cage, the bravado drained, the noise simmered. Everyone could feel it. This wasn't hype anymore. No ref, no bell. Just two men. Nothing staged, nothing scripted. The fighter's smirk wavered, only slightly. Just enough. For the first time, doubt flickered in his eyes. Jason's silence spoke louder than any insult, and the crowd felt it, fast. "Jason! Jason!" The chant started again, louder, rolling like a wave across the arena. Flashes lit up the moment. The air thickened, wound so tight it was ready to snap. And then, it did. The young fighter lunged, no bell, no warning. Just raw instinct, a blur of motion, fists flying, left hook, right jab, sharp kick, wild strikes, fueled by adrenaline, arrogance, and the roaring crowd behind him. For a moment, cheers exploded. Some fans thrilled, chanting his name, but inside the cage, the energy told a different story. Jason moved with razor-sharp calm, shoulders loose, breath steady. He let the strikes fly past him, slipping between them like water through cracks. No wasted motion. The fighter kept coming, fist snapping forward. His grin tightened, sweat glistening. He peppered in trash talk between swings. "Come on, Statham, hit me." Jason didn't bite. A blocked blow, a sidestep, another clean evade. Each time the fighter swung harder, Jason moved smoother, like a current slipping around stone. The crowd began to sense it. Some cheered louder, trying to will the fighter's blows to land. But Jason never stumbled. He stayed centered, hands up, eyes locked, calm under chaos. The fighter's tempo quickened, his punches snapping harder, kicks aimed higher, desperate now. But nothing landed. Jason countered just enough to disrupt him. A stiff jab to the ribs, a clean parry redirecting a hook, a single step back making the fighter overextend. The young man's face shifted. The grin was gone. Breath heavier. Hands looser. Still, he charged. A wide, reckless uppercut, swinging for the knockout. Jason dipped under it. Smooth. Effortless. Then, a clean strike to the ribs, a precise counter, a sharp snap of Jason's fist connecting. The young fighter's head jolted back. The arena hushed, cheers turning to murmurs. People started realizing Jason wasn't matching the young man's energy, he was dissecting it. The fighter bounced back, jaw clenched, wiping sweat. He circled now, eyes narrowing. No more cocky grin. He rushed forward again, feinting left, spinning into a high kick, hoping to catch Jason off guard. Jason had already read it. He ducked, stepped in, caught the younger man off balance. A sharp elbow to the shoulder sent him stumbling. The crowd gasped. Some fans stood, realizing the momentum had shifted. The fighter blinked, frustration flashing in his eyes. His breathing was uneven now. He had walked into the cage expecting a show. What he found instead was something else. Jason hadn't thrown flashy moves, hadn't played to the cameras. He moved like a man who had done this long before the crowd ever arrived. Inside the cage, the young fighter roared, charging again, swinging fast, but sloppy, desperate. Jason waited, watched, then he struck. One clean step forward, one lightning-fast right hook. It landed sharp across the young fighter's jaw. The sound cracked through the stadium. The young man froze, eyes wide, then his legs gave out. He crumpled. The fighter hit the mat, hard. For half a heartbeat, the entire stadium stood frozen. No cheers, no chants. Just silence. The only sound was the rapid-fire clicking of cameras, capturing an image that would be burned into everyone's mind. Jason stood over his fallen opponent, his expression unreadable. No raised fists, no celebration, just control. Then, the eruption. The crowd exploded, the roar shaking the arena. "Jason! Jason!" The chant swelled, louder than ever. Fans leaped too. Their feet, phones raised, lights flashing like a storm. Some pounded the railings, others clapped wildly. Commentators scrambled to speak over the chaos, their words lost in the wave of sound. Jason glanced toward the VIP row, calm, composed, a single nod. Then, without another look at the fighter sprawled on the canvas, he turned and walked toward the cage gate. Behind him, medics rushed in. The young fighter lay blinking up at the lights, his breath unsteady. But no one was watching him anymore. All eyes were on Jason, the man who let his actions speak for him. That other fighter groaned, rolling onto his side. He forced himself upright, sluggish now. No more bounce, no swagger. The grin that had been glued to his face moments earlier was gone. He rubbed his jaw, disoriented, sweat dripping. Cameras zoomed in, capturing everything. The stunned expression, the shift from arrogance to disbelief. The front rows aimed their phones at him, flashes still firing. Every stumble recorded. Every breathless second streamed. He looked out at the sea of faces. Moments ago they had been chanting his name. Now they only chanted one. "Jason! Jason!" The sound rolled in waves, growing louder, swelling to an unstoppable force. He winced, wiped his face, tried to shake the haze, but he couldn't escape the noise. Medics guided him to his feet, but his balance wavered. His shoulders sagged. He glanced toward Jason just in time to see him exit the cage. No victory pose, no cocky smile, just quiet control. Jason moved with measured precision, unaffected by the frenzy around him. Security barely needed to clear a path. The people simply stepped aside. The cameras followed, capturing every step. Back at ringside, fans surged toward the railing, arms outstretched, desperate to capture the moment. The flashes didn't stop. Jason reached the edge of the cage and paused just briefly, looking toward the VIP row. Several familiar faces clapped. Some nodded in silent respect. But Jason remained cool, unshaken. He adjusted his jacket, rolled his shoulders, then walked toward the exit tunnel. No post-fight speech, no need for showmanship. His actions had already said everything. Behind him, the chants still thundered. Fans leaned over railings, shouting his name. Others scrambled to upload the footage they had just captured. Some in the crowd stood frozen, still processing what they had just witnessed. Up in the press box, sports journalists typed furiously, headlines flooding social media. Jason Statham. Floors MMA's cockiest fighter without saying a word. Hollywood action star delivers real-life KO. Fans stunned. Clips of the knockout flooded every feed, views climbing by the second. In the tunnel, Jason walked on, untouched by the noise. Crew members stepped aside, exchanging glances. No one stopped him. No one dared. Back in the arena, the young fighter slumped on a stool in his corner, a towel draped over his shoulders. He stared at the floor, jaw set, lips tight. The cameras still lingered, broadcasting his silence. His fans had quieted, some still clapped. Others scrolled their phones, replaying the moment over and over. There was no mic in his hand now. No more trash talk. Every word he had thrown before, swallowed by the moment. Jason's presence lingered long after he left the ring. For the young fighter, it wasn't just about the knockout. It was about how effortlessly the crowd had turned, how little noise Jason had to make to shift everything. The stadium still buzzed even after Jason Statham disappeared down the tunnel. The headlines flashed, the cheers echoed, cameras kept rolling, but beneath it all, one truth stood clear. Respect isn't demanded. It's earned, quietly, consistently, without theatrics. The young fighter had stepped into the cage tonight believing that noise, bravado, and aggression defined strength. That dominance came from shouting the loudest, swinging the hardest, but real strength doesn't announce itself. Jason's calm didn't come from fame or titles. It came from discipline, precision, the unwavering confidence to let actions speak louder than any insult. In front of thousands, Jason didn't need to match arrogance with words. He dismantled it with composure. That's the difference between pretending to be strong and knowing you are. Because when the cameras turn off, when the crowd quiets, when the lights fade, one truth remains. Arrogance crumbles in the face of real skill and real fighters. They don't talk. They show.